So, I'm back again. Today, Parshat Terumah. It's Friday. The little Zohar. To start right out, the Zohar says, "V'yadabech Hashem al Moshe Lemor." It's a quote from the beginning of this week's Parsha. Daber el bnei Yisrael. Speak to the children of Yisrael. V'yikhu li Terumah me'ez kol ish asher yidavenu liba. So take a Terumah, an offering, some kind of an offering, from the children of it, from any man whose heart is so inclined to give. Now, I'm going to say like this. I just made up this metaphor. So imagine that you're standing where you're at, and before you is a tremendous amount of light that comes into a focus. This light is pure energy. It's the energy that actually makes you be alive. As long as this energy, some of this energy is in you, then you're alive. When it leaves, you stop being alive, right? It's called your neshama. But this neshama is connected to a tremendous pool of light. And let's suppose you're now walking into a room or a place, whatever it would be, or leaving this world. You're standing at a portal to where an enormous amount of this energy, this light, is located. The funny thing about this light is that it's a negative light. It's not like we see light, it shines and opens up things. This definitely does do that, but it's a negative light. It's a light of uncongealing. So I don't want to get ahead of too many things, so I'm just going to say is that you have a process by which human beings are made and become very, very heavily congealed. But as we move away from this world of the congealed nature of our physicality, as we start getting into more of a world where light waves are really the force that is the force of creation. So the Zohar says like this. This is a way of an introduction to a piece that's probably very deep, and we're not going to go that far, but we'll see what it says. Rebbe Chia Pasach. Rebbe Chia began. Now, the word that they use for began is the word opened. So I'm always thinking that why they use that word. There's lots of different ways you could say his skill began. That's a word for beginning in Hebrew, or they could say Omar or Davar. Some word that doesn't mean Pasach, doesn't mean open. So what's he opening? So he's opening really a way for us to enter into the light of that world. For those of us who cherish that light and really want it, this is his way of telling us something. So this is like also a little bit introduction to the Zohar that's coming. Rebbe Chia Pasach, so he opened and he said like this, he began, Ki Yaakov Bachalo Yud K. So this is a pasuk in Tehillim, and instead of Yud K Vav K, he says he closed for himself Yud K. Now the Mukubalim pronounce a lot of them Yak. Call this Yak. And he says so because in Kabbalah a lot of times there's abbreviations and they serve as a purpose in a way that the uninitiated can't understand what's going on. But if you say Yak, then you'll understand what Yak is. Yisrael l'skulasa. So he chose this Yak, the Yud and the letters Yud and K, chose Yisrael to be his treasure. How precious are we before Kudsha Baruch Hu? Who the Israel whom that he chose them. He chose the Jewish people. That's us. And he wants, what does he want from us? He wants to cling to us. He wants to tie himself and bind himself to us. And as a result of that, he has made for them, the Jewish people, us again, a nation, a singular nation in the world. And he quotes a pasuk, Shmuel Beis. He says, "Umi ka'amach Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz." Who are like you, you Jewish people? You are the singular nation in the world. V'inon, and they, the Jewish people, us, Yisru Ubei, Vizkashru Bei. We chose him and we tied ourselves to him. Hadahu dechsev. This is what it means. Ki Yaakov bachol lo Yak. Yaakov chose for him the Yud and the K. Now, remember last week, and also in the Shir from Rav Shik today, that he talked about a malach called Metat. And he went on and he said in the shir earlier, Rav Shik said that when he talks about Matak, it really represents the letter Vav of the Yud Ke Vav Ke. And Vav is a 6. It's the gematria of the number 6. And there's 6 spheros. So this has a good word, Pharaohs, and that's up, Hod, Yisod. And then there's the 7th one, which is called Malchus. It's the process of bringing Shefa up and down to us. So he didn't mention, though, there's 10 spheros, not 6 or 7. So where's the other one? So here's 2 other ones, Yud and K. Those are the top 2 letters. So he says that Yaakov, who also represents the letter Vav, that also Yaakov, this is the main thing, that Yaakov has many, many qualities that are beyond this discussion right now. But one of the qualities is that he's an intermediary between the higher world and the lower world. So Yaakov, who's a man, he chose Yud and K to be the essence of his life. He wanted to reach, let's say, to the upper spiritual worlds. And so he brings another pasuk. He says, Kelechelek Hashem Amo. Portion of Hashem, Hashem's portion in the world. What does he have in this world? His people, us. V'yahav l'shar amen sholtanim ravavim amanim malaychos. So the rest of the goyim, the Matak B'Devash says that this refers to the time of the generation of the what they call the plogo. I'm not sure what the right word for that is, where people got scattered. Tower of Babel generation. So that time he gave them their way because they wanted their own way. And so what did he give them? He gave them kings and queens and princesses and caste systems and all different kinds of bureaucracies. That's what they have for themselves. We have Republicans and Democrats, and we have da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They rule over everybody. But him, Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu, the spiritual power of the universe, not the L'chulke Yisrael. He chose for his person, his people, the Jewish people. Now I'm going to read one more little piece in the Zohar, and maybe we'll take a chance and we'll try to understand it because, again, as I said in the previous year, you have to get on the wagon somewhere. It's actually a wheel, and you have to get started on the wheel, and there's going to be some words and some ideas in here that you may not know. And I'm only too happy to fill in the blanks if I can. But there's a little story that they say in the beginning. I said, I want to read it at some time, about the history of the Uri. The Uri came to Sfat, and after a while people realized who he was. He was one day sleeping, and maybe you've heard this story, just to say it real quickly. He fell asleep, and one of the Talmidim was there, and he saw that the Rav was talking in his speech. And so he went over, and he put his ear next to the Rav, so he wanted to try to hear what he was saying. This is such a tremendous things that the Rav had to say. And the Rav woke up, and he said, "Oh, what's going on?" So he said, "Oh, well, Rabbi, I wanted to hear what you were saying." He says, "Oh," he says, "if you wanted to know what it was I was saying, it would take me 80 years to tell you what I was talking about." That's how deep and how involved it is. So we live in a world where time is based on 24 hours. But in the next world, time is moving a lot faster. As a matter of fact, it's not an issue. So if you try to take something from there down to here, it's a long trip. So let's say like this, is that what we're going to see over here is trying to get involved in the wheel. Okay, that wheel. So Rebbe Shimon Pasach. Now Rebbe Shimon he's going to open up a path for us. And he says like this, he's also going to go from Shira Shirim, I think. He says a little pasuk, he mizaz hanishkafa kamo shachar. So who is this? And the Matak of the Vash wants to say, or at least I think the Art Scroll, translate the Art Scroll, who's looking down from the Temple Mount, kamo, like the morning. So like, in other words, it's like the light, the pure, sweet light of the morning, staring down. Yafa kalavona, it's beautiful like the moon. Barak Achama, it's strong and brilliant like the sun. Ayuma ka nidgalos, and it's awesome like the flags of an army. So what does this mean? Mizos, so he has this phrase that starts like this. These are loaded words, these 2 words, and that's what we want to see that Rav Shimon wants to teach us. Mizos, who is Zos? Raza the Trin Almin Mischavrim Kachado. It's a secret of a yichud, The yichud of being able to put two universes together. V'dahu olam v'olam. That's what it means every 1 year and another, one universe and another. Me. What's me mean? Ha'ukimner darga ilo la'elo. So we understand that me, if you take the gematria of this word, it's mem, which is 40, and yud, which is 10, and makes 50. So we understand that 50 represents another madrega, which is called Bina. Remember, it started out, it said that Yaakov chose for himself Yak, Yud, and K. Well, the first K represents a sphere called Bina. Bina is the mother. She's called the mother because in her is where the tzimtzum, the congealing of the world begins. We could discuss this more. Sherusa the kaima b'she'eltach the ikri me. This is the beginning of something that you could ask about. Think about it. We can't really ask about an Ein Sof. We're absolutely opposite of that. Everything that we know is separations. Everything that we know is congealed in physicality. Everything we know is like that. It's not possible for us to be able to understand at all the origin of reality. It's just not possible. We could tell you, like Rav Shik says, that everything's Elokus, everything is God. Well, it's true. But to be able to understand the essence of that, and to be able to really be davik to it, you have to try to get close to it, and it's not possible to actually get there because you would cease to be. But it is possible to get to a certain level. That letter is called me. You know, the 50 gates of repentance, and different kinds of numbers. 50 refers to Bina. So the 50 gates of Bina. Kamada Amar, like he says, here's a pasuk. He wants to bring this pasuk from Yeshaya. Su'um marom einechem, lift up from the highest levels your eyes. Uru me, again me, bara Ela. Who created something called Ela? So it's not so easy. You might have thought that you've been learning Chumash with your rabbi, and he's been telling you this or that or whatever it is, and everything he says, I'm sure, is wonderful and true. But here we see that the Reb Shimon is actually looking this in a completely different way. He's looking at trying to create a debagus between us and Hashem, and he's taking two words. Well, they are me and Zos. It's just those two words out of all of this is that he wants to concentrate on. So now I'm going to try to read to you, and there will be things here you maybe not have heard, and maybe for sure haven't heard unless you've been through the some of the Eitz Chaim, because as I said before, the Rav, that is the Richa Kodesh, only came to try to make it possible for us to get a hold in the Zohar, because the Zohar is a closed book without it. I'm going to read a little bit of what it says. Rabbi Shimon Pasuk. Rabbi Shimon began the Farish Mashakasov. So the Pasuk which says Mizos Hanishkafa Kamo Shachar. Who is it that's looking down at us like with a beautiful light for the morning? Let me go on and skip a little bit. So he says these two words, Mizos. They're two words. They are the secret of two worlds. The Matik Midrash writes like this. Heim Sod Shnei Olamos. They are the secret of two worlds, which are called Leah v'Rachel. Shekol Achas Hi Olam Bifnei Atzma. Each one of them is a universe by itself. This is, he says, it's in the Eitz Chaim Shar Lamed Ches, Perek Tes. That is the gate, the 39th, the 38th gate. The 9th parak. Leah Nikros me. That Leah, another word for Leah is me. Me is again number 50. Rachel Nikros Zos. And Rachel is Nikros Zos. I always had this word that I got for the Sulam a long time ago. The Zos Yavo Aron Ela Kodesh. So Zos refers to this world. Aaron would bring Zos, us, and all our problems to the Mizbeach. And it would be Ma'ala them. That was his job. So he says, these two worlds, and I can't get into too much detail. I'll try to explain as best I can. Sometimes these two forces, they come together. They're both female forces. Obviously, Yaakov had two wives, right? Leah and Rachel. But it's not referring to the simply idea. Let me explain like this. I don't know how much further I can go here. Maybe I'll read the whole thing out, and then I'll explain a little bit for orientation purposes. And the two of them make one system. We haven't discussed, we don't know what a Parshat is, we've discussed it. And we certainly have discussed Leah and Rachel. And for this reason we have the concept of the Kodesh Baruch Hu spans from ha'olam ala olam, so we have to know what all of these words mean. So he wants to say, how is it that Leah manages to be called me? Me goes after Bina. Mila's me, so he says the word me. So we've explained it. See, he says that me is medarga el yona l'mala mezun vehi ima ilo'o. Like I'm saying like this, these are all words. What's zun? So zun is their anpin, which we mentioned in the earlier shir from Rav Shik, and it refers to the body. And I'm going to explain this a little bit so we can have some orientation. Shehi medrega el yona l'mala mezun. She's up above. She's in the higher level of zun. So ima iloh, also known as the upper mother. So he parts of a rishon lomedes l'shayla nikras me. What he wants to say is, in spiritual things, you really can't ask too much about what's going on, because after a certain point, we just wouldn't understand it. But ima, we can. We could say me. Who are you? We recognize something there. That's the K of the Yak, of the Yud K. So he said, K pshat milo sheshoel mihu. So that's also the simple meaning of the word. When you ask somebody, who is it? Ve'ein meishiv, nobody answers. Ki miro v'chaloptasa, there's no answer to who are you, Bina. It's only that we realize that there is some force, some degree of light that has the ability to be able to congeal things. We know that. So therefore, that's our question. Who are you? And so he says, Ein hasaga ba'atzmiusa rak ma shehi mislabeshes bazun. But she has an essence inside of us, because Ima also goes along with the concept of neshama. So we see that neshama, so we have different words, we're going to be used different words over the course of these lectures. If you can handle it, you'll hear them. We get the idea of Naravki. Those are the lights. So just putting words out. Maybe Raya She'ima Nikras Me, so he brings a proof that she's called me, because of me Shuhu Ima Bara Es Ela, because me, who is Ima, she created something called Ela. This is the beginning of the Hakdama of the Zohar, where it says me Bara Ela. Is me created something called Ela. That's the way Rebbe Shimon learns it. Now, Ela is a gematria of 36. Ela is Aleph, it's 1. Lamed is 30, that's 31. And the Hey at the end is a 5, so that's 36. The Haino as Havak Dazah. So he says, what is this? It means that instead of taking it as me bara Ela, and the Ela means the number 36, he says the number 36 is really two letters together, Lamed and Vav. So then it becomes me bara la Vav. Who created the 6? Who created the 6? The 6 is Zer Anpin. I'm going to explain this, and that'll be the end of our lecture when we get to that point. So who created that? Shekal Echad Kolam Avak, because each one of them, you could make it a 36 also, because you could say that there are 6 steps, which you said, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Netzach, Hod, Yesod. And each one of them has the 6 inside of it also. That's also a 6. So that's 36. Hare, Haim, Kaminyan, Ela, so they come out to be 36. Vihine, Noida. Nisakna Macharayim the Ima. So she's made out of the back of Ima. The Chen Gam Leah Nikras me. So therefore she's also, since she's made out of Ima, which is me, Ima is me, so therefore we want to say she's called me. Agam Sheikar Kinui me Hu be'ima really refers to ima, which is another word for bina. So, what in the world is he talking about here? This ima and this Leah and this Rachel, what is that all about? So the best I could say is like this. The Rav gives us two different ways to understand reality, spiritual reality. That is the reality that created us. So it's not really possible to understand the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. But he gave us two ways. One way is what is the right word? Anthropomorphic. Using our bodies, our physical bodies. He says that really the world, the reality could be understood, the best that we can understand it, is as a reversed hologram, that's the word. A hologram in reverse. So normally we say like this, what's a hologram? It's an image of an image of an image of an image. It can keep going on and on and on like that. You have to have the original image, and then you have an image of it, which is a duplication of it, but it's not the same essence. It's not so congealed. Well, we, in fact, are the object of creation, so therefore, we're not the original image. But on the other hand, the way that we are created with a rosh, a toch, we have a head, right? A toch, a body, and a sof, and feet, and legs that go down to the bottom. This is actually a metaphor for a reality that we could use. What's that got to do with this? So the rosh in Kabbalah is called the gar. It's called the Gimel Rishonos. That is usually Chachma, Bina, and Das. So we're not going to talk about all of those, but that's what the rosh is. So we're talking about Bina here as the second letter Hey. So also could be also called by different names. It could be called Kachav, which is a acrostic for the word Keser, Chachma, and Bina. So we were talking about the creative forces that we could possibly deal with, and one of them is called Bina, also called Ima. Another name for her is called Ima. Ima is like, let's say, imagine, and this is not to be understood in a physical way at all, but just imagine a reverse hologram in a similar proportion to who we are. So remember back in the old days that when Adam and Rishon was created, he was created Zohar v'Nekeva. That's Zun, Zohar v'Nuk. He was created male and female, and she had to be surgically removed in order to come around in front of him so that they could mate. This is the whole deal in Kabbalah, is to explain all of that and to understand all of that. But if you understood that the way that men and women are created, that the women really protect to a great extent the male force because he has the seed, protects him, but his whole job is to give to her. We understood that from the Pashtanim, from the simple Torah, that the woman is on the back, that the female aspect is on the back, and therefore there's a front and a back. In reality, in spiritual worlds, there's no front, back, up, down, so on and so forth. That's only in our world, but we can use it. The Rav gave us that ability to use it. And so in the back of the body, you have two forces. One is called Leah and one is called Rachel. That's the best I could do to explain that right now. So that will take further elucidation, be able to understand the creative process, and be able to use that to come close to the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Thank you.